On the coldest night of the year, a frightened blind girl stood alone on a snowy sidewalk outside a closed cafe, trembling, shivering, and calling for help. People walked past her, some staring, some whispering, and most pretending not to see. Her hands were numb, her tears were freezing on her face, and she had no idea that the one person who would stop for her wasn't rich, powerful, or important. He was a poor single dad with barely enough money to feed his own son. But what he did next changed both of their lives forever. Before we begin this emotional story, don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe to your channel name for more powerful stories that move hearts and remind us how much kindness still exists in the world. 16-year-old Lily Hamilton had grown up in a world filled with sounds, textures, and sensations, but never colors or shapes. She had been blind since birth, but she never complained, never asked why me, and never let her disability define her. Her father, Richard Hamilton, one of the wealthiest businessmen in the state, made sure she had every tool, every technology, and every opportunity to live as fully as possible. But despite his wealth, Richard couldn't protect her from everything. That evening, a sudden snowstorm swept through the city. Roads closed, buses stopped running, and temperatures dropped faster than anyone expected. Lily's school had dismissed students early, and she called for the family driver only to hear the shaking, terrified voice on the other end telling her the car had skidded into a ditch. He couldn't reach her. Lily tried calling her father, straight to voicemail. He was in a board meeting with his phone turned off. Determined not to panic, she carefully followed the familiar route toward the cafe near her school, where she often waited for rides. She counted her steps, traced the buildings with her fingers, and listened for familiar sounds. But when she reached the cafe, the lights were dark, closed, and the storm had already begun swallowing the street. Snow whipped against her face. Her cane tapped helplessly at the frozen ground. Her body shivered uncontrollably as the cold sank deeper and deeper into her bones. Cars rushed by, splashing icy water onto her boots. People hurried into warm buildings, too busy, too stressed, or too distracted to notice the blind girl outside, begging softly, "Hello? Excuse me? Can someone help me?" She felt the sting of fear in her chest. Not because she was blind, she'd lived with that all her life, but because she was blind and alone in the freezing dark. Then, from across the street, she heard hurried footsteps crunching through the thick snow. Hey, are you okay?" a warm male voice called. It was Daniel Brooks, a 32-year-old single dad struggling to raise his 7-year-old son, Noah. Daniel worked long hours at a warehouse, picking up extra shifts just to afford rent. His coat was worn, his gloves thin, and his shoes had holes at the bottom. He barely had enough for bus fare. But none of that mattered the moment he saw Lily. "I am cold," she stuttered, teeth chattering, "and am lost. The cafe is closed and my driver can't come." Daniel instantly shrugged off his coat, even though the icy air cut through his shirt. He draped it gently around her shoulders. "You're shaking," he said softly. "Let me help you. My name's Daniel." She nodded slowly. Lily. He realized she didn't have a safe place to wait. No shelter, no warmth, no ride, no one answering her calls. His bus home was coming in 3 minutes. If he missed it, he'd have to wait another hour, with a tired, hungry child at home. But he looked at Lily, her trembling hands, her snow-covered hair, her fragile breaths, and the choice became obvious. Kindness first, always. "I'm not leaving you out here," he said firmly. He guided her to a nearby bakery that was closing up. "Please," Daniel asked the cashier, "can she wait inside for a bit?" "She's freezing." The cashier shook her head. "We're closed. I can't let people stay." Daniel stepped in front of Lily protectively. "Please," he begged quietly. "She's blind, she's shaking. Just 10 minutes." But the cashier locked the door and turned off the lights. Lily heard it all, and tears slipped down her face. "I don't want to be a burden," she whispered. "You're not," Daniel said. "You're a kid who needs help, and helping you is the right thing to do." He took her hands and rubbed them gently to warm them. "Look, my home isn't fancy. It's actually pretty small. But it's warm, and you're welcome there until we reach your dad." Lily hesitated. She had been raised careful, never trust strangers, always stay with people you know. But something in Daniel's voice felt safe, honest, human. "Okay," she said finally. Daniel guided her slowly through the snow-covered streets, describing every step so she wouldn't slip. When they reached his small apartment, little Noah opened the door. The moment Noah saw Lily shivering, he brought her his favorite blanket, the one covered in little rockets and stars. "Here," he said, "it's warm." Lily smiled for the first time that night. They made her hot chocolate, put her wet shoes by the heater, and sat with her while she warmed up. Daniel texted every emergency number he could find on the internet for Hamilton family contact, hoping someone would respond. Meanwhile, Lily told small stories about her school, her dreams, her love of music, and how she played piano by feeling the vibrations. "You're really brave," Noah said in awe. Lily laughed softly. "I don't know about brave. I just try." A few minutes later, Daniel's phone rang. A panicked voice exploded through the speaker. "This is Richard Hamilton. Is my daughter with you? Please tell me She's safe." Daniel smiled. "She's safe, sir. She's warm." Within 20 minutes, a fleet of black SUVs stopped in front of the apartment building. Security guards rushed out, followed by a breathless, terrified father. "Lily!" Richard dropped to his knees and crushed her into a hug. "Sweetheart, I'm so sorry. I'm so sorry." She hugged him back tightly. "It's okay, Dad. I wasn't alone." Richard turned to Daniel and Noah and paused. Daniel's apartment was tiny. The furniture was old, their clothes were faded, but the kindness in their faces told a story wealth never could. "You saved my daughter," Richard said softly. "You gave her what money can't buy." Daniel shook his head. "I just did what anyone should do." But Richard knew better. Most people had walked past his daughter. This man hadn't. A few days later, Richard invited Daniel and Noah to meet him. When they arrived, they found him standing beside a stack of boxes, envelopes, and keys. "This is not payment," Richard said. "This is gratitude." Inside the boxes were warm winter clothes for both of them. The envelopes held grocery cards, gas cards, and enough financial support to help Daniel breathe again. And the keys belonged to a small, comfortable house fully paid for. Daniel's voice cracked. "I can't accept all this." "You can," Richard said gently, "because you gave me something priceless. You gave me my daughter back." Lily stepped forward, reaching out to Daniel. "Thank you," she whispered, "for seeing me when no one else did." Daniel swallowed hard. "You're welcome, sweetheart. Kindness doesn't care about bank accounts, titles, or status. It doesn't ask what you have, it asks who you are." Daniel had almost nothing, yet gave the most. Lily had everything, yet needed something money couldn't buy. And in one snowy moment, their worlds collided in a way that changed all three lives forever. When we choose kindness, even when it's inconvenient, even when it costs us something, we become the reason someone believes in goodness again. So today, be that reason. Be someone's warmth in the cold. Be someone's hope in the dark. Because kindness, once given, always finds its way back home.